it's David's hat.
He's not here. He won't know.
I know. Shh,
Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
Okay.
All right. So, are you ready? Is that open? Yeah, it is.
Oh, gosh.
Domain. Domain is the set of all X values in a function. Amazing.
So yesterday, we learned about plotting points and X coordinates and Y coordinates and an X axis and a Y axis.
Right.
So when we're talking about, like, if we have a whole list of points, all of the X values have a special name. And
They're called
the
domain. I like that word.
This is a pretty good word.
Yes.
But
Okay.
they've got a bunch of other names too.
We have to make things complicated. It wasn't us. It was not our
No.
idea.
No.
But anyway, there are other names that the domain goes by, or the X values. Well, that's easy. You can call them X values. Or you can call it,
The domain.
or you can call it,
The input.
which is something you're putting into an equation. Or you can call it the,
Independent.
that's a beautiful word.
Independent. Variable.
Oh, wait. What's a variable again?
A letter.
A
Well,
letter.
an unknown value, but we usually use letters.
Yes, we use letters. Very, very good. So now let's talk a little bit more about identifying the domain.
Right.
Shall we?
We shall.
This is called a table of values, right?
Yes.
And the question is, what is the domain of the function represented by this table?
And we will talk about this word more tomorrow. Okay?
Yes.
But for today, this is our most important word. for
Domain.
right now.
Domain.
Yeah.
So let me look at this for a second. This has two columns.
Mm-hmm.
One says X, one says Y.
Mm-hmm.
And they go together, don't they?
They do.
Right. So, but if I want to find just the domain, I'm only looking at,
The axis.
I see.
So this, yesterday, we could have taken this table and we could graph it on a coordinate plane. Because really all it is just 4 points. But now we're not necessarily interested in the graphing. We're just interested in identifying the domain or identifying what the X values are.
Wow, I think I can do that.
Go for it.
Do you want me to help you?
Yeah, sure.
How do we write them?
Well, we use these things called curly brackets.
Curly brackets?
They're very fancy.
Oh my.
Do your best.
Yes, do your best. Oh wow, curly brackets.
Yeah.
We'll work on that. Okay, so the first X value I see is a 3.
A 3.
Ooh, I see you put a comma there.
I did because I'm going to list more X values.
Oh. The next X value I see is a 5.
Perfect.
Then a 7.
Perfect.
And then a 9.
Perfect.
More curly brackets at the end.
So this is a list of values that is the domain of this table. So the domain is 3, 5, 7, 9. And it is literally just the X numbers.
I'm not a very good curly bracket person.
That's okay.
It's okay?
It's okay.
So, like, if I'm trying to write this down and right now I just can't get the curly brackets, like, for now, can I just do that? Just for now?
I would rather it looked more like a squiggle or something.
Okay, so let me
Because
try
that means something different.
Okay, so let me try a squiggle. How about like that?
That would be better.
That would be better?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I could draw a squiggly bracket or not. I
Yeah.
mean a curly bracket. How about like, ooh, that maybe was kind of close.
That's pretty good.
Okay,
I like
thank you.
that.
Yeah, very good. So it doesn't have to be beautiful.
No.
It just has to do something.
Right.
Okay, we got it.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep.
Ooh.
This looks a lot like stuff that we did before.
Yeah.
Right? It's just a list of regular points. They're not in a table. Nothing crazy is happening. But now instead of graphing them, we're looking for the domain,
Domain is the X value.
which is the X values.
And if I remember correctly, from 2 days ago, or from yesterday,
From yesterday.
you told me that it was X, then Y.
Mhm.
Are they always in that order?
Always.
always X then Y.
Every single time.
Kind of like the alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, X, Y, Z.
Z. Yep.
Okay, so the X is always first.
Always.
Gotcha. All right, I gotcha. I
Okay.
understand. So let's go through and look for the domain. Can I put a dot underneath each X value to help me?
Sure.
Okay, well, this is an X, and this is an X, and this is an X, because they're the first ones.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is also an X, and this is an X. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 X's.
Now, what we could do is we could just write our little list here exactly as we see them.
Oh.
-1, -2, 3, -9, 0. But we don't want to do regular math here.
No.
We want to do fancy math.
Fancy math?
Fancy math.
Okay.
And the fancy way to do this is to write those numbers, those X values, in ascending order.
Holy moly, I think you should write that down.
Okay.
Ascending order.
Ascending order.
Now,
It's
I
not
remember.
wrong to do it the other way, but it's just very bleh. And we want to be fancy.
We want to be fancy.
Yes.
Ascending order, if I remember correctly, that starts with the littlest number and goes up to the biggest number.
It does.
Oh, wow. Well, let's look closely. We have some negatives.
We do. So the negatives have got to go first.
Right. And I think this -9 is the tiniest of the negatives.
It is. So we'll put -9 first.
Okay, so that's already done.
Okay.
And next?
-2.
Okay. And then next would be that negative over there.
-1.
And we've got 2 numbers left, a 0 and a 3.
So let's put the 0 and then put the 3.
Oh.
And then we'll close our list.
And that's how you write the domain.
That's how you write the
From a
domain.
list.
Mm-hmm.
And we already learned how to do it from a table.
Yep.
Wow. This is not hard at all.
Nope, not too
We
bad.
can do this.
All right.
Absolutely.
Let's do it from a graph.
A graph.
A graph.
Okay, we can. You got your David hat on, so we can do this.
We can, oh, that was loud. We can do it.
You ready?
In fact, we can do this 2 different ways.
Ah, yes. I like
we'll do
that.
it 2 different ways.
Okay, this says identify the domain of the function represented by this graph.
Yes.
Would you like to do the way you like to do it first?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
How are you going to do it, Miss Benson?
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna write the coordinates for each of the points, and then I'll pick out the X's from those.
that makes perfect sense.
Okay?
Okay, show me how.
I'm gonna do, I don't know where y'all have room, but somewhere we're gonna write this down because I don't wanna do it on the graph.
Okay.
So down here, maybe, I'm gonna write the coordinates for each of these 4 points.
Okay.
All right? So I'm gonna do this one first, and this point is -3, +2.
I see that.
-3, +2.
Wow.
The next point is 0, -4.
Okay. And it was 0 because you didn't go right or left.
Correct.
You just had to stand still.
Then my next point, that guy right there, +2, +1.
Right. That is correct.
And then the last one over there, +3, +1.
Oh, I get it.
So if I'm gonna write my domain out, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at all of my X values, which are conveniently already in ascending order,
Oh.
least to greatest.
I think if you move from left to right on the graph, that's what happens.
Yep. So if you're organized, it will make your life easier in the end.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna write down all of these X values. -3,
Perfect.
0, 2, 3.
That sounds great.
That's my domain.
Miss Benson, you do such a good job at making this look so easy.
Thank you.
Not
Do
easy.
you have another way we could do it without writing all this stuff down?
I do.
Okay.
Now, it doesn't work for everybody, but it seems to work for my algebraic brain.
Here.
You know what I
how
mean?
about red?
Okay,
So we
red
can
would be
see
nice.
the lines.
Okay, I think so. So the first thing I'm going to look at is I'm going to identify the domain. The domain means X values. It means how far did you go over to get to a point.
Perfect.
So I'm gonna look, I'm gonna start at my left, because that's how I read, left to right.
Left to right.
So I'm gonna look at the point that I see first. And I'm gonna ask this point, hey point, what was your X value? Pow, pow. That was its X value.
Beautiful.
Because it was -1, -2, -3. Who? And he says, go ask my next friend. Cool, I can do that. Hey pal, what was your X value? Oh, my X value was a 0.
Perfect.
Ooh, that's pretty interesting. He says, go ask my good friend over there.
Okay.
So I'm coming up here and I'm saying, hey, good friend, what was your X value? Oh, my X value was 2. And he
I
says,
think I'm starting to notice something here.
but ask my neighbor.
Yeah.
Hey, neighbor, what's your X value? It's right here. Oh, wow. That's cool. But can I go through and see what numbers those
Yeah,
are?
let's do that.
Okay, I'm going to start. This is 1, 2, -3, 0, 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. No way.
Which means
How did that happen?
you got the same answer from just looking at the graph.
Yep.
Instead of from writing out the points.
Yep.
Yep.
You just had to know which one was the X.
Yep.
And make sure you were only looking at these guys, just looking at their value on the X-axis.
Perfect.
That's all you were doing. Okay, this says range. And I think it has a lot to do with domain. They kind of go together,
They kinda go
domain and
together.
range.
Yes.
Range is the set of all y values in a function. Huh. I think I know where this is going.
Yep. Seems
So-
like it's going to be just like the other, but with the
Y
Ys.
values. So the names to remember are Y values, range. If the other one was input, I bet this one is,
Output.
it is. And if the other one was independent variable, I bet this one is.
Dependent variable.
How did that work out
And we'll
for
talk
us?
more about that in a couple of weeks, but it might sound familiar from science too.
Oh, that is very true. Are you ready?
I'm ready. This time I think it might go a little bit quicker because
I
we
think
kind
so.
of know what we're already doing.
Yep.
We just have to make sure we read the questions really carefully. So this time it says, what is the range? And range means Y.
Yeah, and I'm going to look right here, and here's a Y, and here's a 0, a 2, a 4, and a 6. And fortunately, they are in ascending order.
Boom. That's my range.
That's awesome. Everybody got this? Excellent. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The next thing we're going to look at is a list. And again, it says, what is the range? So this time I think I'm going to put a dot under my Y's. There's my Y, there's my Y, there's my Y. Why? Because it's the second one, and you told me they were always in order.
They are always
X
in order.
and Y.
Oh,
So,
my curly bracket didn't turn out so cute this time.
that's all right. So we have to put them in ascending order. So
That would
let's
be the
look.
best way to do it.
Positive, positive, positive. There's a negative. That's the only
Zero.
negative, so it's
So
got to go
negative
first.
2 first.
And then I see a 0.
And then
4, 5, 6.
5, 6.
There you go.
4, 5, 6, curly bracket.
Ta-da.
Not so bad.
Beautiful.
Once you remember that
Yes.
domain is X and range is Y, you're going to be set.
And we'll show you some ways to remember that in a second. Very, very good. You ready?
Ready.
Here is our graph. 2 different ways. You go
can do the
first.
same thing. So I'm going to kind of go through this real quick. In fact, there may be a creative cut right here. All right.
That was good. You wrote those super duper fast.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I wrote them in a different order this time, but we'll explain when we do the graphy version of
We
this.
will.
Okay, so now I'm looking at my Y values because I'm trying to find the range. So when I write my list, I'm going to double check, make sure I put them in ascending order. -4, 1, 1, 2.
Ooh.
Something happened this time. So I'm going to put the -4, but if you have a number that repeats, you don't write it twice.
You just write it one time?
You just write it one time. So I'm just going to put 1, and I don't need to write 1 again.
Okay.
And then 2, And then Miss Foss can show you how to do it on the graph.
Okay, that sounds perfect. Could you change the ink color, please?
Of course.
This time, remember last time for domain, I went left to right because that's the way I read? Well, when I'm talking about y values, I'm going to go bottom to top.
Starting
Okay.
with the negatives, going up to the positives.
Right. So I'm going to look right here, and I'm going to say to this guy, hey guy, what is your y value? And he's going to say, I'm sitting on it.
Oh gosh.
He is.
He is.
He's sitting right there.
Right on the y-axis.
Yeah. And then I'm going to go up here and talk to these two guys. Guess what?
They're on the same part of the y-axis.
I asked him, what's your y value? And he said, my neighbor and I have the same y value.
Yep.
Right there.
Perfect.
Wow.
Wow.
Now I'm going to ask this guy, hey, what's your y value? Right there.
Perfect.
So I'm also going to do ascending order, which means I'm going to start down here. This is -1, -2, -4. Then I'm going to count up 1 and 2. And I only have to write the 1 once because those guys were sharing.
Yep.
Oh, sorry about that. There's my curly bracket.
Same answer, different method.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
That is perfect.
All right, so we're going to send you off to practice in just a second, but first,
Yes.
2 quick ways that might help you remember which one is domain and which one is range.
Perfect.
Okay? I'll do ABCs, you do the line.
I will.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So, if your brain is really good at alphabetizing things,
A, B,
not
C,
all of
D,
our brains are.
E, F, G.
Okay, you might remember in a point, X comes first, Y comes second.
Right?
Okay, X comes before Y in the alphabet, and domain comes before range in the alphabet.
That is
D
correct.
comes before R, X comes before Y. So the X is the domain, the Y is the range. Now if the ABCs
that.
don't work for you, that's okay, because
We have another way. I'm going to write the word domain. Does that make sense? Okay.
domain.
And I'm going to write the word range. I know that domain is X values, and I know that range is Y values, but look at this. I can underline domain with never having to go up or down, just go straight across. I can underline X, never have to go up or down, just straight across. But
Uh-oh.
if I underline range, I got to go around that G.
Oh yeah.
And guess what? If I have to underline Y, I have to go around that Y.
Oh, so that could be another way to remember that
Yeah.
domain and X go together, range and Y go together.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Different ways for different folks.
We should be good to go then.
All right. See you later, alligator.